Yeah, because presumably, like, you look at her and you go, okay, well, this is, I've got to be rational about, I've got this other human being that I desperately want to give the best start to. And yet you're battling all these other things. I mean, that must be really, really difficult to sort of navigate through, to look after yourself, but also fundamentally every mum puts their children before them.
Yeah, so I didn't look after myself. Like, I was, my daughter was 4 when I got sober, and there's a lot of stuff that I am not proud of, and it came as, really, her being born was when I started to realize that I had a problem with alcohol as well, because it was like, it didn't occur to me that, like, when I got pregnant with her, I just assumed that part of my life was done. The party girl life was done. And I was just going to become magically this woman who had a glass of red wine with her dinner and then went to bed. And, it was a real fucking shock to the system when 2 weeks after she was born, I was like, I want to go to the pub and get fucked. Like, I was like, what? No, I was like, no, I've got this beautiful little gorgeous baby bubs, and I've got the life I was told I've always wanted. Like, I have a flat in Clapham, I have a bugaboo, I have this lovely boyfriend or husband or whatever, like, who is nice. And I was like, so why do I want to go and get fucked? Like, that's not right. I had to, like, bury that. I had to kind of, like, justify it in so many ways. I was like, yes, well, I don't want to lose all of me, like, happy mom, happy baby, all that kind of rubbish. And, those delusions, which is what they are really, persisted, until my daughter was just 4. And, yeah. I feel I'm very lucky, Georgie, to be alive. I really do believe that. I do. Like, this morning when I was walking back from CrossFit and I sort of stopped on the road and I was like, God, I'm lucky. I'm lucky to be alive. I'm lucky to be alive here now. I'm lucky. All of, I'm just so many reasons I'm lucky. So I don't, I don't really know what I'm saying.
No, I completely... actually, one of the things to point out is you've got such a wicked sense of humour. And I think the thing is that even though, like, when we're talking about something that is so... can be dark and deep and very meaningful and all of the things that come into play there, you still have the ability to maintain your sense of humour. And has that actually been, like, a key thing for you, to be able to kind of sometimes just take the heat out of things? Because it does make a difference, doesn't it, in how you approach a problem?
Well, I think sometimes I can use it a bit like, people are like, Bryony, stop performing. Like, I used to, like, before I got sober, I'd be like, and then this hilarious thing happened, and people would be like, that's not that funny, Bryony. Anyway, but I definitely now, I think that it's important. Like, when I write a book, I'm like, this stuff is dark. This is hard enough as it is. People don't want to read, like, I mean, some people do, but I don't personally want to read, like, outright misery memoirs. And I think it's easier to read about this stuff if there's a bit of humour to it. But also what I think is it gives people hope. So, like, if you're in that dark, dark place, you're like, oh, she's been there, but she's now laughing about it. Like, that's, that's okay. You may not even be conscious that that's what you're thinking. Like, it's just, but it's sort of planted there. So I just, life is inherently funny and you've got to laugh at it, because otherwise you would cry. That's my view. That's my view, basically. It's like,
but now you find yourself in this territory where, I mean, you've set up mental health mates. You are a mental health campaigner. You talk about it. Like, I go back to that BT advert of "It's good to talk," and it is clearly good to talk. But that in itself is a sort of a responsibility that you now have, because you are that person and you're talking about it with searing honesty. Does that take it out of you? Is it just does the good, that what comes from that, the helpful stuff that comes from that, does that just so outweigh any of the other stuff that it's that is what matters more than anything else? So
not talking about it takes it out of me, because I'm like, oh, I'm the worst person in the world. Talking about it is easy. Like, no, I don't. I'm not like, there are billions of different types of people in the world, okay? And I am not a person who finds it having conversations like this, I don't find these exhausting. I find these like life affirming and lovely. And, you know, I think obviously there's an element where you have to be quite careful about what you take on of other people's stuff, you know, like because you know, I want everyone to be happy. Like, I'm a bit Pollyanna-ish like that. And, you know, so in that respect, I have to be quite careful and be like, it's okay that this person is crying on you. Like, that's okay. Just give them a hug, you know, like, just give them a hug. And, you know, and then I can't save them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not, I don't have any kind of illusions that I am that powerful or whatever. But like, I think it's right sizing and seeing what my role is. And it's just like, for whatever reason, I have gone through this stuff, and for whatever reason, I feel comfortable writing about it. I don't just feel comfortable writing about it. I need
You really want to.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's part of the process of how I get well. So like, I read a review, like the other day in a magazine that was like, oh, the most tragic thing about Gordon is not that she has experienced all of this stuff. Like, it's that she, you know, to make a living, she needs to be unwell. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is about getting well. Like, it's about, like, I'm not like, oh, what kind of issue will I face? You know, like, that's not how it works. Like, life is a bit more complicated. Like, we don't have those happy beginning, middles and ends. Like, I would dearly love that I wrote one book about OCD and then I walked off into the sunset and lived happily ever after. But I don't know anyone who has, you know, I don't know anyone who lives like that, who doesn't like encounter life's ups and downs. So the way I see it is that, like, for whatever reason, I don't like enjoy, but I kind of, it feels easy to me to write about this stuff. And so I think my role is just to kind of like, I feel like the responsibility I feel is to put it down on page and get it out there. And that's it. Like, what after that, like, I have no other, I'm not here to solve all the world's problems, but I hope that by talking about this stuff and encouraging other people to also talk about this stuff, that we might get to a place where it's normalized. You know, we're now in this kind of tricky place whereby people are starting to talk about this stuff, but there is literally, you know, there's no one kind of almost official to talk to. You know, so like the provision is lousy. You know, if anything, it's got worse since I started writing about this stuff, and certainly since I set up Mental Health Mates, which was in 2016, you know. So we keep going, you know, and there are lots of people who go, well, you know, we need to stop talking now and have some action. And I'm like, but I can't, like, I can't go and point, you know, I can't kind of go and, I can't storm into Rishi Sunak's office and go, by the way, you need to give this many billions to, you know, mental health. I wish I could, but
I reckon you could. I reckon you're one of the people that could.
Well, I'm also of the opinion, I'm really beginning to realise that actually, Georgie, like, in a way, it doesn't matter how much the people in positions of power, like, they could say tomorrow, we're going to give this much money to mental health services, you know, that would be wonderful. You know, they could all announce in their manifestos, you know, mental health is at the forefront, you know, I don't know, like, we're not living in cloud cuckoo land. But like, actually, what I realise is it doesn't matter how much money you throw at the kind of system, because it's kind of the system itself. And I'm not talking about mental health professionals that are the problem. I'm talking about the people that run the system. They're the problem. But also the way we live our lives now is just not mentally healthy. Like, there are no two ways about it. Like, we have to prioritize economy, money over our own well-being, you know, like, and that's okay. Like, that's okay. But there needs to be stuff
But there'll be
we're all on our
consequences
phones the whole time.
Yeah, there are consequences to that. I was wondering that actually, because there's the rub, isn't there? When you talk about mental health and you want to get the message out there, of course, one of the ways to do that is by using social media. But presumably that's part of the problem. And what's your relationship like with social media? Because I have this constant conflict in my mind about all of that, especially raising young children, especially raising a young daughter, thinking about the sorts of things that are out there and the time spent on the devices and all the things that every parent panics about. But it's not just for the children, is it? It's us too. We recognize it in ourselves, which is why we're probably so worried about it.
Yeah, and I think also you can't lecture your kids if you're yourself kind of like on the phone the whole time. So I mean, like, listen, my daughter doesn't have a phone yet, so at the moment, and I'll hold out as long as I can until she's about 45, I'm hoping.
By which point it won't need to be a phone, it'll be contact lenses in your eyes.
Yeah. No, that's a joke, obviously, but I have a complicated mess. Like, I could use social media like I did use alcohol or drugs. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I kind of like, as an upper, a downer. The upper is, oh, look, lots of people follow me. And the downer is, oh, look, lots of people have unfollowed me. It's all the same. And it's like, so I have to be a bit careful of that. And it's just, I don't know.
Your journey with mental health. So we talked about that thing that there's no sort of beginning, middle and end necessarily that slots into place like a Hollywood fairy tale or a Cinderella story or anything like that. It's much more nuanced than that. So your journey with mental health, when you first wrote Mad Girl and then where you're at now, has your mind changed? Have your thinkings around mental health shifted at all or changed at all from sort of when you first started experiencing that to now?
Yeah, massively. So I think back like 10 years ago, I just thought like, this is just something and you should take a pill and get on with it. And, and now I think that more, I mean, I take antidepressants, so this is not me poo-pooing them at all, by the way. But like now I think in a way like that, depression and anxiety and all these things are like, you almost need to lean into them and ask them what they're trying to tell you. Like I think that they are your brain's incredibly sophisticated way of signaling to you that something is not right in your life. Like in some way, your value system has been upset, and I really think that's what's at the kind of heart of a lot of stuff, and it can go way back to trauma in your childhood, all of that kind of stuff. But I think, and I think instead of sort of silencing it, we need to kind of listen to what it has to tell us. And, that's what I would say, that's probably why you do have far more mental health issues nowadays, because, I mean, that's not just, I think there were lots, there's always been mental illness has always existed, obviously, but I just think the way we live our lives is not very mentally healthy now.
What's the worst thing that we can do? What's the worst thing that we're doing for ourselves in terms of our mental health on a regular basis, would you say?
I think it probably is looking down and inwards at phones and spending our lives like that. I think for lots of reasons that's really bad for you, because it makes you kind of think you're connecting with the wider world, but you're not, like you're seeing this perspective that's often quite frightening, and our brains aren't meant to be constantly bombarded with all the terrors of the world, I think people talk about going on diets, what they consume, what they put in their mouths, what they put in their bodies, but like I think as well we need to think about what our eyes, what our minds are kind of consuming, so for me it's like on that level, if I'm inwards, if I'm looking down and in, then I'm not always in a great space. If I'm looking up and out, I tend to find that life is a lot better. So by that, I mean, and like, that's kind of like going out for a walk, exercising, connecting with people. So I think there are lots of things, but also I think it's about working out what your definition of success is, what your, I think as women, we're taught to dismiss ourselves. Like that's just a sort of, that's just something that is kind of inherent in us. So
what does
I don't know,
that's an interesting thing, Bryony. What does success look like for you? Because you've been through all of these different things. What does success ultimately look like for you?
I mean, it's an interesting question now because it's changed a lot. And, you know, I'd like to say with a hand on heart, it looks like, you know, it's I think for me, a successful day is one where I haven't spent the day. Success is like not spending my day in looking down and in a state of terror. You know, like that to me is the most successful thing of all, because that's the kind of most hard won thing. And I don't, you know, that isn't something that I get every day or even every other day, you know, if I'm being honest. So, so I guess that's what a success is.
And if you feel like that's not happening for you on any particular day, do you have kind of coping mechanisms that snap you out of it, or do you just have to sort of lean into it a little bit, like you said?
I think that's the key, is accepting everything. Like, you can't, you know, like we're not all going to be happy all the time, you know. So it's kind of leaning into it. I'm not saying dwelling on it, but being like, what can I do? You know, for me, there are some like basics that I have to adhere to or I'm fucked. Okay. And those are no alcohol. I can't do it. Like, so there's, you know, no alcohol, more or less daily exercise, you know, like I have to, okay, so here's the thing, right? I have realized I have this like bundle of energy inside my body that will always exist, whether I like it or not. Okay. And to kind of, that energy needs to go somewhere. For a long time, it got used, you know, I would drink alcohol to kind of dampen it down, or I would take, you know, snort a load of cocaine to try and sort of like shape it into the energy I wanted it to be. Or, you know, I would like numb it with crisps and food and stuff like that. Or I would use the energy, I would try and think, oh, if this unsuitable man who's an absolute arsehole likes me, then life will be better. I'll put my energy towards that person. And like, it's like, no, the energy gets all sort of toxic. So for me, the best way I use my energy now is I exercise, I go to 12-step meetings, I sort of connect with people, and those are my sort of like little kind of pillars, I guess, that keep me well, you know, well enough. You know, there's a lot to be said for just feeling well enough. If not entirely well. Like today I'm not feeling entirely well, but I'm well enough to get up. You've just done
a class of CrossFit. You're absolutely fine. Or maybe not, judging by that sigh.
No, I did enjoy it, and I needed it, and I felt a lot better afterwards. Like it shifts something, you know. So that was a way of me using the energy positively to kind of like fire me up, and you know, get going on the rowing machine. You know, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to win any Olympic gold medals. I'm not, you know, not getting invited to Paris, but whatevs.
Yeah, you don't need those, as you say. Like as time ticks on, it all starts to look a bit decrepit, as per the Truro swimming pool reference.
I do have a fantasy that one day I will become the first non-sports person to win BBC Sports Personality of the Year, just being a legend, for like just running around everywhere. Yeah, they'll be like, oh, this lady is so inspiring.
Final
18.
Final question on this sort of main body of the podcast, because I've got another little section which I want to do with you afterwards. But the final question on this main body is just sort of say, yeah, how do you, there's this sort of like contradiction, isn't there? If you feel like if you're suffering with anything that might be mental health related, like actually getting up off the sofa could be even a major challenge. How do you sort of juxtapose that with running these marathons that you do and the training that you do? And I mean, is yeah, I'm trying to square this off in my head, like this idea that this person that could have a lot of these things going on in their mind is still able to achieve that over there, which is extraordinary. And I'm wondering if that's just you, or if that's commonplace with people struggling.
I think it's quite okay. So what I've come to realize is that like a marathon is like a hard, like it's objectively a hard thing, you know, unless you're like hardest geezer or whatever. You know, it's like, it's a hard thing, right? It's like no one wakes up and goes, oh, that's easy, I'll just do a marathon today. Okay, so it's a hard thing. And for me, it's like, I get to control the hard. So like, it's like today I get to choose how hard, how I'm going to experience life. You know, the hardness of life, instead of the hardness telling me, you know. So like, I suppose what I'm trying to say is like, the days when I feel like I don't have any choice and I'm staying in bed and I can't move. Like, that's hard. That's really fucking hard, you know? So for me, it's like, it's almost like if I get up and I just go and I'm like, no, I'm taking control of the hard today. So this is going to be hard, but I'm going to beat it, and I'm going to be like, la, 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 la. That's basically what it is.
Got you.
So yeah, I think that's what it is. And I really, you know, and it really, like, getting injured and not being able to do that challenge, like, really knocked me and still, like, a little, you know, like, being honest, like, I was really looking forward to it, and I'd done like my longest run and stuff. So I was like, it you know, only being able to gently swim in the Ben Ainsley Leisure Centre was not it for me. Sorry to say.
I will report back, and he'll be very disappointed to hear that it wasn't enough.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure it was not enough for me.
Right. So you've obviously got like millions more marathons in you, but what is next? You haven't been able to do this London one. So what's now on the calendar for 2024 to satisfy all of your things?
To satisfy my running needs. Well, I think I can probably start running again in a couple of weeks. And then I'm going to try and do the New York Marathon quietly.
As we both know, that is not going to happen quietly.
I might do it. So I did the London Marathon in my underwear in like 2018 to show that like exercises for everyone, no matter your size. Yeah. I think I might take the bra and pants to the Big Apple.
I thought you were going to say take the bra and the pants off.
No, there is no way I'm running a marathon without a bra on. It would be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But I might, like, I don't know, it depends. Like, it's probably going to be a bit like November in New York. I'm like,
keep you cool.
I'm like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just do the bra and pants to the Big Apple. I mean, I think they're not just ready for it. They're like, what's taken you so long, Bryony? That's what they're going to be like.
I'll be there. I'll be there. As you know, I'm following you everywhere in the world over the last 24 hours. I'll be like waving from the side, like round about mile 15.
Yeah. So anyway, but bra and pants to the Big Apple. Right. And then I'm going to do the look at that. It's like doggy paddle. And then I'm going to do the big challenge next year.
Okay, that's the three. So that's the Brighton Marathon, the Brighton to London running adventure, and then the London Marathon. You're mad, but okay, fine.
And next year, I am. I've just literally published a book called Mad Woman. The exciting thing is next year is the 45th London Marathon, and guess how old I'm going to be next year?
Oh, well, I don't need to. You're going to tell me, and I know the answer.
If I go like 45, 47, no, I'm going to be 45. So I am as old as the London Marathon, and oh God, look at that. That's disgusting. What is that on my sleeve? That's so on brand.
Well, I wish you all the very best. I wish you all the very best with that. I may actually decide to do it with you because my husband has said that he may need another challenge next year after the America's Cup is finished in October time. So for some stupid reason, he sets himself challenges left, right, and centre. So we may well do that next year.
Well, because he's an alien. Oh no, I'm planning to do the America's Cup too in October. Did I not mention that?
You'll need a bigger boat.
I just thought I'd sail. I'll sail around. I just thought I'd sail around the world on my own, in my pants and knickers. Will never do that ever. I will never. Boats are not for me.
No, exactly.
I can swim alongside the boat.
No one needs to be doing that. Bryony, brilliant to talk to you. I love you to pieces. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.